Hello, lovelies. Welcome to Horror 421, the podcast, with your host, your friendly small-town horror author, Charles Campbell. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the frights in this week's episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Horror 421, the podcast. I'm your host, Charles Campbell. I'm a small town horror author, if you didn't already know. And today I have two very special guests. One is a super good friend of mine, and you guys should be familiar with her. She was the co-host of season one of this very podcast. And she's one of my best friends, and I love her to death. Elena Marie Morales Lee. Welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you back.
Glad to be back. Thank you for having me.
Like a breath of fresh air having you back. And then Elena has brought her compatriot. They have teamed up. They're doing some great things. He is known as Big Slap, aka Director Slap, aka Sir Fear. He's got so many monikers, I don't know what to say. But welcome to the show, Big Slap.
What's up, Charles, man? Thank you for having me. It's good to be on your platform, sir.
Well, it's good to have you. It's good to have you. So, what I want to let my listening audience know is you two have collaborated, and Slap has a good little library of stuff out there, which we'll get into. But they have collaborated to put together Sir Fear Presents Deadtime Stories. And in this, Elena plays this awesome character that she made up, Annora. I'm going to put a link below so you guys can check out the episode one. But wow, blew me away when I watched it. Slap, I know you're proud of it. So, what I want to do, if I can, is I want you to kind of give yourself an introduction. My audience knows a little bit about Elena already, but kind of tell us about you and your background, and then we'll get into some Q&A.
Sweet, man. Once again, thank you for having me, Mr. Charles. Elena, it's always good to see you again. So I got this crazy idea in my head. I met Miss Elena at the haunted house that she does work for this past Halloween. You can see that representing. Yeah, it is. Nightmares Gate. Shout out to everybody from Nightmares Gate, man. Amazing haunted house. But anyways, I've always had this idea of doing a slasher in my head. And I was actually I was going a different route with the slasher. I had this mask and everything designed, so it's just sitting around, just kind of waiting, whatever that turns into, whatever the case may be. But anyways, I saw Elena dressed up that night, and I was like, man, like the way it looked, it was raining that night, and the black lights were hitting the dress just perfect. She was in full character. It was something about it. It was like a ghost. I feel like I'm looking at a ghost. So I was like, everything just started kind of cooking in my head, and I was like, I got to figure out who she is, and I got to see if we could maybe collab on something with this character, if not the exact character, because that character, I'm sure, is owned by the haunted house people, whatever the case may be. But I wanted a character similar to what she was doing that night, because I just felt like it's something different. We've always seen the slashers with the big machetes and the big butcher's knives and things like that. But I wanted something that could kind of be like a ghostly figure that kind of terrifies the crap out of people. So that's where the connection came between me and her. And we were able to kind of team up and create this story. And she came up with this awesome character by the name of Anora, and this look. And then I never forget when she came out, when she was fully dressed in character. When we shot, I was just like, yes, there it is. That's what I'm looking for right there. I was like, yes. I felt like I was like, and then we're talking like having regular conversations, and it was just awesome, man, to see her like be able to transform into this unique character or whatnot. So that's kind of where it all kind of started and turned into.
Well, she is amazing, that is for sure. So, Elena, I'm going to come back to you for a second. You've been away from the podcast for a couple of years now, and I've been in touch with you. We stay in touch, but what I want you to do is kind of let your listening audience know what you've been up to the last couple of years. We haven't really seen you on the podcast, but people kind of been watching you through social media. So fill us in. What has Elena been up to?
Lena was working quite a bit, took a break from social media for a little bit just to kind of get the head out of the numbers aspect of everything and worrying about what other people think of me and their perception of my art, because whatever people think about you ain't none of your damn business. And you should just keep pushing, keep thriving, and keep working as hard as you can because life is amazing outside of that. So I think I just took a break just to kind of get myself regathered, recentered. I was still doing art and painting some, just not all the time like I used to. But, 2025 is the year of the comeback, or like you said the other day, it's not a comeback. I've been here for years, but
LL Cool J, baby.
I think this year is definitely the year of not saying no and making sure that I take every opportunity that comes in my path and just working more on my craft in general, even with costuming and distressing things and doing something outside of just regular haunted house acting and things like that, just growing and thriving in this new world of film, actually, because I've been on a few short films and music videos before, and I was always kind of like the background guy, kind of like, here's all the makeup. I'll just sit in the corner. I'll just watch you do your thing. And this is what you tell me I need to do. I'll do it. And then I think I had like little tiny tidbits because they need filler casts. So I was just kind of like in the background. So it's kind of hard being like in the front of the camera because I'm just not used to that. You think I would be because I'm at the haunt, but I'm not. So it's just kind of like, wow, this is all about me. Like, this is me. This is cool.
Yeah, it was great, and I think it was a great platform that puts you out there in front of a lot of eyeballs. So, Slap, I do thank you for putting her out there like that. I know how talented she is. She's worked on a couple things with me as far as book covers and done an amazing job. So let's get her out there and make sure that the people see how talented she really is. So great job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. She is wonderful to work with. Um, just Slap's Dead Time. I'm sorry if I'm jumping ahead,
No, you're good.
but when we done Slap's Dead Time Stories, I had every full intention on making this that was kind of like a pilot run to see what happens, what can
Right.
we create. And just off doing that, I was like, hey, this is we got something here. And I was like, this isn't just going to be like a show anymore. We're going to turn this into a film. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that as
Oh
the
yeah, yeah.
podcast goes on.
For sure, for sure. So, Slap, I do want to turn back to you. I was fortunate enough to meet you the other day. We kind of did a dry run of this podcast for complete disclosure. We chatted a little bit. But with that being said, let my listening audience know a little bit about your background. Who are some of your influences coming up? How did you get into horror? Now, this is going to be a broad ass question, but uh, how did you get into horror, and who were some of your influences coming up, and what first caught your eye as a horror enthusiast?
Okay. Yeah, this is one of my favorite stories to tell. I was jumping on my father's waterbed back in the 90s, and I was jumping on there with scissors. He told me to not do it. He would warn me, don't do it. Don't jump on the waterbed. Stop jumping on the waterbed. But I'm a kid, man. I'm like 8, 9 years old. So, kids are going to be what kids do. Well, one day I made a mistake, fell, and the scissors, yeah, destroyed the waterbed, put a hole in it, flooded the bedroom. It was horrible. So here I am waiting for the old man to get home. I'm already expecting to get, slaughtered by him when he gets home. And he comes in. My dad was always a real calm guy. So he just looks at me and says, I'm like, I'm just waiting for it. He's going to give it to me. He's going to give it to me. He's like, hey, you know what? Come in the living room. So I went in the living room. He said, I'm going to show you what happens to bad kids. Show you what happens to bad kids that act up. And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, I didn't see him pull out a belt yet. So we're getting somewhere. All right. So he puts on his film titled The Exorcist. And I was like, he's make me watch a movie. And I remember watching this movie and I was completely terrified. The whole time I was like, man, especially when it starts getting when she starts kind of the demon inside of her starts gaining strength and she starts really changing her. And then I just remember watching like, oh my God, this is terrifying. I would rather get a whooping than watch this. And then that was kind of like my introduction to horror because I remember it was terrifying, but at the same time I was like, I wanted to see it again.
Oh yeah.
So my dad, this is back in the VHS era. So my dad actually had the tape, so I would just sneak the tape into my room, put it in my my tape player, and I would just watch it. And it was weird. I was scared, but I was drawn to it. So that was my start to, I guess you could say, my passion for horror projects and horror films. Now, after that came the Halloweens, the Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Streets, Candyman's, different films like that, and that just continued to fuel my passion for horror film. And then as I gotten older, I started out as a writer. English was always my favorite subject in school. Even when I was in college hitting the books, I was an English major. Played college football, but I was always the type that didn't really do much partying. I would go back to my dorm room and I would like write because that's just, that was just me. But anyways, as I gotten older, I really turned into a Chris Nolan fan. Chris Nolan he's one of my favorite. He is my favorite film director because I just like what he does. I like how he does his homework when it comes to films and his passion that he puts behind his projects. So he is my favorite director, and my favorite horror director of all time is Wes Craven. I'm a huge Wes Craven fan. So yeah, so that's kind of, just a little bit about me as far as that goes.
Yeah, well, I'm a big Chris Nolan fan too, and in our discussion the other day, we talked a little bit about him. I think, and I'm gonna be like the guy that's talking about pop culture and what's the mainstream stuff as far as he's concerned. But I loved his Batman films. I loved all three of them.
Yes. Yes.
And it's not just the Batman films, but all of his films have this certain aesthetic, and they kind of build tension. And
absolutely,
yeah, like when Batman and the Joker were going at it in that interrogation room.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah,
so
it's
anyway,
intense, man.
Intense.
Yeah. Interstellar is one of my favorites by him, and Inception. Inception is amazing. I thought it takes a couple times to watch it and understand it, but it's a really good film once you understand it.
I had to watch that about 4 times before I kind of got it.
I could not stop going to the movie theater to watch that movie. I was infatuated with that movie. I was like, is it spinning? Is it still spinning? I want to know if it's still spinning. I need to know. Like, why is it not stop? Like, what? It was just so good. We watched it in school too. Like, they actually let us watch it in school because all of the kids, we couldn't stop talking about it. It was just like, wow, like, what the heck?
Yeah, that was a crazy good movie for sure.
Yes, beautifully written, man. The dialogue between the actors and actresses, and I mean, it's just a powerful film, man. And that's what Chris Nolan brings to the table. He brings, passion. I actually like Tenet. People crapped on Tenet, but I thought Tenet was a great film. So, that's just me though.
Full disclosure, don't kill me. I haven't seen that one.
Oh man,
I haven't either, actually.
Yeah.
Y'all should watch it tonight if you get time.
All right.
Watch Tenet.
I haven't seen that one. I'll have to.
Yes, highly recommend it.
So to piggyback off you saying that The Exorcist was one of your all-time favorites, have you actually ever read it?
Yes, I actually.
Okay, all right.
It's funny. Once a year, I have it on my Amazon. Forgive me for those who may hear this, but I like my Amazon app that has Amazon audiobooks.
Okay.
But I have the actual audiobook of The Exorcist, and when you listen to that, the guy that's reading the book to you, I mean, it's almost more creepy than the movie. So it's very intense.
That one was a rough read. Like, out of all of my nerdiness in my heart, I love all of the horror genres, all of the horror authors. Like, I've read a lot of splatterpunk, I mean, everything. But that one, I was like, I don't like that. I didn't like it. That one and Rosemary's Baby both, like, they're not meant to make you feel good at all. And I even think before you even watch Rosemary's Baby, you should read the book, because you get so suffocated when you're reading her experience of how no one is letting her speak. And it's in that time era too, when women were not allowed to speak about anything. So it's just like, you feel so suffocated when you're reading it. You're like, this is crazy. I think it's Ira Levin, I think was the name of the author of that one.
Ira Levin. I'm gonna have to document that so I can download that.
You gotta be careful when Elena recommends a book. She recommended some batshit crazy book.
Listen, I have apologized about that one.
Yeah, I wanted to throw up as I was reading it. That thing was terrible. The book wasn't terrible. I'm gonna back that up. I'm gonna backtrack that. It was well written, and the story.
Original?
It was definitely original, but man, I was sick to my stomach reading some of the content in that thing. I was like, really?
So I'm not big on the body horror books, because there's some that are just absolutely too much. There's a book called Womb. It's by Duncan Ralston, and the outside cover looks like it's giving like the Bates Motel vibe. So I'm like, oh, it's a haunted hotel. This is gonna be really cool. It's gonna have different rooms. Like, I'm seeing it. I'm like, this just looks really cool. It's not. It's a lot. it's a lot to unpack. If you want to read it. Don't judge me for reading it.
Well, she wanted to have
didn't
him on the
know.
podcast.
I
She
didn't.
wanted to
I
have,
didn't.
she wanted to have him on the podcast.
I want to know
I
what
said,
goes on in his
I
head.
said,
Like,
that's
I
all
needed
you.
to know.
That's all you.
I,
Go get him. Just all you.
he never messaged me back. I did message him. I tried. I tried, but I was just like, I need to know what's in your mind. And then I told my friend Allie about it. And because I told her how bad it was, she was like, well, I guess I'm going to read it. And I'm like, please don't. Because Charles actually had to give it away. He didn't want it in his house.
Oh, wow.
I
He
gave
was
it
like, I don't
Bryce.
want this shit in my house.
I did read it.
Yeah, this sounds like something. I'm going to have to check this out.
I think there's a sequel
got
to
me.
it.
Yeah, if you do audiobook with it, Dustin read it on audio. And
It's called Rosemary Baby.
Womb.
Womb.
And it's spelled
Okay.
WOOM.
Yeah.
W-O.
Dustin did it on Audible, and it's a British guy reading it, and he says, I don't even want to say it on the podcast. He says this one word specifically like so many times. It's so funny. And he says pussy, but it's like pussy. And it's so many times, like in one sentence. And I'm like, this is way too much. Like, why?
I mean,
He's playing out loud in the kitchen. And I'm like,
why'd I bring this shit up? I shouldn't have brought it up. But
Yeah,
but
I will
great books out
be
there.
downloading today.
well, it starts in one direction, and when I'm reading it, when I'm reading it, I've only read it once. I was going to say for the first time, but when I was reading it the first time, I was like, oh, okay, I know where this is going. Blah blah. I know what he's about to do. He's into this or he's into that, and then nah, player, that ain't what it is at all. I'm like, oh. I didn't want to turn it into a womb podcast. We talk here to talk about surf.
I'm just saying, man, read it. Everybody check it out. I think that guy deserves his cookies. He has a lot to give.
Probably in
also,
a Mike ward somewhere.
Thomas C. Harris, last summer I died. That's another one. My friend Allie and I went on a venture too. So if anybody else wants to tell us how bad that one is, you should try that one out.
Thank you for the recommendations.
You are welcome. You're welcome.
All right, so Elena, I'm gonna stay with you for a second. Now, this was a pretty big opportunity you got with Annora and teaming up with Slap. So I want you to tell me how we kind of heard from his perspective, but from your perspective, how did you guys connect? How were you contacted? What were your thoughts? Were you going, oh crap, oh yay, or was it a mix of the two? Tell me what headspace you were in when you got this news that you may be starring in something like this.
So it was funny because I saw his post he had made about the haunt, and I anytime I always look at the end of the night on like who takes pictures with me outside, because some of them are really cool pictures, and I'm like, oh, okay, and then I'll just reshare them. And I was like, that's actually a really cool picture. And he did like this cool like cloud effect, and I was like, that's awesome. So we just mutually followed each other, and I didn't really think much of it after a while. And then I told everybody at the time I was gonna stop saying no to opportunities because I was ready to get back out there again. And I was like, this is the year. This is my year. I'm going to get back in it. We're going to do art full time. Like, we're going to make this full-time job. That's the goal. That's the goal right now, And he hit me up. I was actually at the zoo. It was the weekend before Christmas. I was with my niece, and he was like, I'd like you to be part of something. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You need some makeup help or whatever. And then he was like, no, I want you to be the star. And I'm like, what? I'm saying what? And Dustin was like, if you say no, I'm going to be so upset. Like, please, if you say no. And I'm like, I'm not going to. He was like, this is going to be so freaking cool. Like, this is going to be awesome. Like, what do you think? And I was like, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm scared shitless right now, but let's do it. So I printed off the script and I read it a few times. And then anytime I try and do a character, whenever I put my teeth in, the haunt special effects teeth that I have, I always start doing my accent that Armida has at the haunt. So it was kind of like this Russian accent I have for her. And I was like, I don't want that. I don't know. I want something different. So I started playing around in different accents. I was like, well, do I want to do my mom's accent and be like, welcome to Slap's Deadtime Stories? I was like, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right.
That would have been funny though.
I was like, that would be funny as shit, but I don't think that's what we're giving. I'm like, do I want to go more Elvira, funny? And then I was like, no, I think this is more of a brooding, but no one expects Mary Poppins to be scary. Like no one expects that. And I was like, all right, so let's play around with some names. And I always try and keep an A name for all of my characters. I don't know. It's a thing. So we're running it through Chat GPT. We're running through names. And I'm like, all right, well, what about this? What about this? And then I was like, Anora. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Well, let's keep rolling with it. And I just kept kind of rolling with the voice. And then it was like this weird hybrid voice between Russian and British. I was like, I'm going to show up and figure out if this is going to work or not. Like, I hope for the best. We'll see what happens when I get there. And it just, I don't know, Annora came out. I put the costume on, distressed it, just kind of he was like, just flow. So I think that's what I did when I first walked in.
Yeah.
I was just flowing. And I think that's a lot of development with the haunt thing. It's just kind of, you're getting loose, you're loosey goosey. And I think that walk, the strut thing is something I even do in my regular costume at the haunt. And I don't notice that I'm doing it, but it's fun.
Second nature. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, being in that costume was really cool. I don't know. It was just it just kind of came out. And I thought I was gonna suck the first time I did it. And he was like, "No, you're killing it." And I was like, "You sure?" I was like, "I feel like I suck." And he was like, "No, this is great." And I was like, "All right, cool.
Ah,
We're good."
awesome. Well, Big Slap, let's come back to you.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
the other day when we were having our little pre-chat, that's what I'm gonna call it, a pre-chat.
I love the
Uh,
pre-chat.
the pre-chat. We talked about FearOwl Films, and what I want you to do is kind of tell the listening audience how FearOwl Films came together. What's behind the name? Because that's a cool story. And it's all Atlanta, man. It's all Georgia. It's all, I like the dirty South. I come to Atlanta a lot to watch some blood pressure birds every football season. But tell us how Fear Owl Films came to be.
Okay. This is like I said. This is a very true story. I'm a big hunter. I love to duck hunt, and also I was real big into deer hunting years back. But so I like to get when I would go deer hunting. I always get to the woods, get set up early. I like to get to the woods around 3:30 a.m. By the time I get there around 3:30, I'm in the stand at like 4 a.m. So I sit there for a couple hours till the sun comes up. So just so happen to be set up, sitting in the tree. I'm all quiet and stuff. I'm not looking at any phones. I'm just kind of sitting there, just my hands between my legs, cold, shivering, with my bow next to me, just waiting for something to come walk out when the sun comes up. But anyways, this particular morning, I was like, man, I feel like something's sitting next to me. I feel like something's watching me. You know what I mean? I was like, what is this next to me? And I felt like a breeze. I feel a breeze of wind every now and then. I was like, well, it's no wind out here. I checked my wind. I'm not getting winded by any deer. Everything should be good. But it just still felt weird. I was like, what is this? What's this next to me? So I just happened to pop on my headlight. I switched over to the red info light or whatnot, and I turned around and looked towards my right. And sitting next to me, it's like I'm on one, like my stand. The branch was right next to me, and there was a big ass owl right next to me, with his head completely turned backwards, staring right at me.
Uh,
And I just never forget like the fear. If you've never seen an owl in person, because believe it or not, a lot of people haven't seen an owl in person. But when you see these birds in person, first of all, they're big. They have really sharp, like
Talons.
talons,
Yeah.
and they are very intimidating birds. And I didn't know that their head can freaking completely turn
Oh yeah.
around.
Linda
Yeah, so it
Blair.
freaked me. Yeah, it freaked me completely out. I was ready to jump out the tree and like head to the truck because I was so freaking out so bad. But I remember I was sitting there staring at the bird. The bird was staring at me, and I was like, "Why isn't this thing flying away?" Like I couldn't shoo it away. Like it just wouldn't move. So I was like, "Well, he's not killing me yet, so I'm just gonna turn his headlight off and let him do what he does and go on back to my business." Fast forward years later, I'm sitting there thinking about like, "Hey, I'm starting this film company, man. What am I gonna name this thing?" So I'm coming up with all these crazy ideas in my head. I'm like, well, fear chat films, fear this films, and I'm just like, no, that just don't flow right. And then I remember talking to my buddy, my wife Jessica, and a buddy of mine, and she was like, but my wife was just like, what are you scared of? And I was like, well, I'm not really scared of nothing, but what made me nervous? And I thought about, it, I was like, that damn owl when I was hunting that time, that still kind of gives me the hippie jibbies a little bit. And I was like, owl, fear, owl. That's it. Fear Owl Films. And that's where it all came together. So all this came together from an owl. So, the owl brought me good luck.
Well, there's a story there too, man. I can see, my writer's brain's spinning on that. You sit there and maybe that owl's possessed. Maybe that owl has a soul of somebody you betrayed. Maybe,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe
Them
that
eyes
My,
too
owl,
big.
yeah.
my mind went back to the Exorcist film when I was a little boy. And I was like, man, this is it. I'm finna get possessed right here in the middle of the woods. Nobody's here to help me.
Well, I've done some, a little research on you since I knew you were going to be on the podcast, and I've watched a couple things. I haven't watched your whole library yet, but I'm going to catch up. You got quite a few things out there on your YouTube channel.
Yes,
But I
yes,
did
sir.
see Evil Lurks and Evil Ways, and I completely enjoyed that. And like I said, we did have a pre-chat, so we talked about it a little bit, but let's cover that ground again. Evil Lurks and Evil Ways. Who came up with that concept? The grandpa character, completely Atlanta,
Yeah.
completely Atlanta. I love that
Grandpa's the
story.
OG.
Oh yeah, the OG pop. And people, I want you to go out and listen to the story. So I don't want him to give away, what the story is exactly. But how did that come together? And you can give them a little synopsis if you want. Let's just don't give the story away.
Yes, sir. That started, I wrote that film. I wrote the story, and it wasn't a script. It was just a story because I was turning it into a
Right.
book. I wrote it the weekend after Halloween Horror Nights 20. We're in 2025 now. So I believe it was 2022.
Okay.
But that's why I wrote it that week, the weekend after Halloween Horror Nights. So I remember I had this put together. My cousin's in the film industry. Shout out to Cosplay Shinobi, Chris Carthern. He's got major projects on the way as well. But anyways, I remember sharing them. I was like, hey man, I got this crazy idea, man. You do films, man. I think I want to try to shoot this right here. What do you think? And he read it. He said, hey man, this is dope, man. But the thing is, it's not in script format. You got to turn this into a script. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, how the hell did I do that? He said, go on YouTube and learn the way I did. So I went on YouTube and learned how to write a script and did some research, and I ended up turning the whole thing into a script. So I was like, all right, I got a script now. Now I need to cast. So I went through, this guy that was supposed to cast the project. He ended up not working out. That's when I learned. That's one lesson about the film business. You learn that a lot of people say they can do things they really can't. So I ended up letting them go, and I casted the whole thing myself. So got the project casted, and I was like, all right, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna do it like in a full animation. I'm gonna do something different. So I was like, all right, yeah, we're gonna do animation. So long story short, I talked to a bunch of animation companies, and they were throwing out these crazy numbers: 10,000 per page, $5,000 per page, 3,500 per page. And I was just like, where the hell am I gonna get all this money to do this? So after the last meeting I had with this guy in Orlando with the film animation company, which is funny, he is somebody I'm working hard to because you're going to hear from me again, and I'm gonna have the money for you next time. He laughed at me on the phone the first time, but you know, I was real amateur at the time, but I'm coming back and we're gonna see if you laugh again. But anyways, that's the competitive side of me. Forgive me, folks.
Oh, you
But
got it.
anyways, yeah, I met this guy named Michael Dante from Goody Boys Music. Shout out to Mike, man, Big Mike. Big Mike, he is very talented as far as using AI to generate animations. Basically do AI generated animation films. It still includes movement. He
Mhm.
could put my voice actor roles into the characters, create the characters off my liking, and it kind of comes into like a proof of concept type project. So that's how it turned into the actual film, Evil Lurks and Evil Ways. We put this together, man. He believed in the vision. We worked hard together. He sent it to me, and I was like, "Yeah, man, I like that, man. I like what you're doing with that, man. It's perfect. It's following the script. It's following everything I wanted." And then, boom, it turned into what it is. So yeah, that's how we was able to do it. We had an amazing run with this film. We did a screening for it. Everything just went perfect for that, man. And we're still growing and still gaining buzz.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So guys, go check out Evil Lurks and Evil Ways. I think you'll like it too. Elena, I'm gonna jump back to you because I'm gonna be a little bit all over the place. I want to get back to Sir Fear's Dead Time Stories. When you first stepped on the set of where you guys filmed, and were fully in the character of Anora, tell me what was going through your brain at that time when the setting looked pretty creepy to me, but he may have done his film magic and it may have not been as creepy as it looked on the screen. But from your perspective, how did it feel and look when you first stepped out there?
So it was really cool when we first got there. It was still about 4 o'clock, so it wasn't too dark. But when we pulled up, it was actually a church I had passed by 100 times on the way to Little Five Points when I used to take 42, and I had seen it so many times and I never thought anything of it. I always just be like, "Oh, that's a pretty cool church. Like it's just really random. Like it's just in a random spot," and I never thought anything about it. And then when I pulled up, I was like, "I've been past this like 175 times. Like this is crazy." And I was like, oh, this is going to be cool. We walked in and you can hear the acoustics in there. So we're kind of just getting a feel of what the church would look like. And I'm like, oh, that would be so cool. Like, what if we had all of these ghosts sitting in all of these seats, like covered in sheets, like that one scene in Insidious with everybody
Oh
just sitting
yeah,
there? That is one of my favorite scenes of all time. We'll get back to that in a second. But
absolutely.
I was like, oh, that would be cool. And the way if the lights were shining in on these stained glass, like I was like, this is going to be gorgeous. So I go get in makeup, and then he was like, well, bring her up when everything gets dark and when she's ready. So it's dark out. I'll roll upstairs, and I'm like trying not to throw up. I'm like, I'm going to suck. This is going to be so bad. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, what if I suck? And I was like, babe, you can't watch me. I don't want you near me. Like, I can't. I was like, I need you to hide. Like, I can't. Like, I need you to just scope somewhere. He was like, you're going to be fine. I promise you're going to be fine. I was like, all right, fine. So I walked in and I'm like, oh, the red light. This is badass. And then everybody turns around and they're like, oh, okay. Hi. And I'm like, hi. So that was cool. It was they were just like kind of, getting everything ready, but I was like, this is gonna be awesome. I was like, I don't know where this is going, but I hope it goes like really far, because it was just so cool to see it and surreal with the lighting and like all of the different aspects of where we could stand and shoot, scenes with me in it. And I was like, this is gonna be so cool. It was just awesome.
Well, it turned out amazing. So I want to see more. I want to see more. I want to see more of Anora. I want to see what Big Slap has in mind for that character, what you have in mind for that character. So you got me hooked, but now I'm like, what's next? So Big Slap, what's next? Tell me what's next, man. I gotta know.
All right. Well, we are collabing again. Annora is returning. We are in the process of getting ready to shoot a short horror film that's going to leading to a full feature with Annora as well. We're giving Annora a backstory. People are going to know why she does what she does. People are going to know where she came from. People are going to know the dark situation that made her turn into the slasher that she is. And people are going to get to see her powers in the short that is currently in pre-production now.
Nice. That's awesome. Now, I do want to bring up one thing we talked about in our pre-chat the other day is there's a current horror director that you like, I like, Elena likes. So I want to give a little bit of love to Robert Eggers and Nosferatu and some of the stuff he's been working on. I know you did a review on Nosferatu, which I watched on YouTube, which was a great review. Good job.
Thank you, sir.
Tell me how you got into Robert Eggers, man. He's a one of one for sure.
Oh yeah, man. He is definitely climbing the ladder in my Mount Everest of horror film directors. The movie that kind of introduced me to him was this film called The Witch. I never forget it. It was so random when I saw this film. I was like, The Witch. That commercial looks good. Hey, I'm a horror guy. Let me check this out, see what it's made of. I remember walking out that theater feeling incredibly disturbed, and I was like, this was so freaky. I'm gonna have to go watch this again. I think I went and saw it either the next day or the week following. But he has an eye for horror. He's been nailing it, man. I really enjoyed Northman. The Northman was a great film. Lighthouse, it took a couple times for me to really understand and get into that film, but I thought that was a great film.
If you understand it, tell me, because I've watched it.
We have a theory. Dustin and I have a theory about what it is. And
I loved it, but I still don't know what the fuck they were doing.
I really think it was just both of them losing their minds. I think Willem Dafoe is a very unreliable narrator in the aspect of was this man actually in the Navy? Like, did he actually sail the seas? Did he see any of the stuff that he saw? You don't know. He's just losing his mind, and they're just drinking the whole time. And then you have Robert Pattinson and his character, and he's like, okay, well, he's not really truthful about his name, who he is, where he came from. And I think at his old job, he lost his mind. I think he's actually bipolar, going through an actual bipolar episode, and he's disassociating from everything, and he's seeing all of these scenarios. So like at the end, is he really actually like, getting pecked by all the seagulls? Did that actually happen, or is it in his head? Like, is it happening? I don't know.
The sex with a mermaid, I was like, what?
The Murgussie.
Yeah, the mermaid.
Yeah, whatever that was.
The Murgussie.
Whatever that was. Yeah. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. Yeah.
I don't know why the mermaid was in there. I thought there was going to be a lot more mermaid lore. I thought there was going to be more of like a siren thing. I thought that was the theme of the movie. I don't know why, because they had a lot of mermaid what is it? Advertisement. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. So I was like, I wonder if this is like a siren film. Like maybe a siren comes in to possess them.
Watch Siren.
Shout out to Siren. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, you said siren, so I had to throw Hannah in there. I love
but yeah, Yeah, Robert Eggers is killing it, man. Nosferatu was absolutely. Matter of fact, I think me and Elena text on Christmas morning. I was like, "Hey, you going to see it?" Or she might have texted me, or it was one or the other.
I
But
was
I
like,
know
wait till you see it. He was like, I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
see it tonight. I'm like, just wait, man. Just wait.
yeah,
Ah,
yeah. It was. I mean, it was incredibly shot. It was deep. I love Nosferatu when he finally like comes into the picture. You hear his voice, that accent, like that tongue roll when he's doing. I wish I could talk like that.
I
But
think
I mean,
Elena
it
can.
was just cool, man. He
Gi-
said, I'm sure Elena. Yeah,
Yeah,
Elena's talented.
give us some
Give us a little snippet.
Nosferatu, Elena.
you have 3 nights. On the third night, you will submit to me, or the one that you love will become. I forgot what he said. He said something, but I don't know. You will
I like
obey
when he told him to address me as
my
your lord.
counsel. I
Yeah,
don't know. I really like that.
so
Man,
talented.
I don't know. I think there were so many different shots that are my favorite in that film, but I was like, damn, there's just so many things. Like when she went to her
Yeah,
husband and she was like, you never could please me like he could. And I was like, what? What
yeah.
did you
Like
just say? And
good.
he was like,
Like,
bet,
like man, that
bet.
bad. I'm finna wear you out now.
I don't know. I thought she was
Put it like
just,
that.
I think her possessions like were just spot on, beautiful,
Yes.
gorgeous, like with the eye rolling. And I
Oh
loved this
yeah.
film because they did not CGI shit. They did
Yes. Yep.
practical effects the entire time. He was covered in prosthetics head to foot. I thought that was absolutely insanely genius. For me, that's my nerdy
Yes.
thing. I'm like, oh my God, the airbrushing, the quality of this and how they did the veins and the skull. That's what I was looking at the
Yeah.
whole time. I was like, I can't stop looking at the makeup and the artistry of the costumes and the beauty of the
Hmm.
cinematography, just the simple shots. Like one of my favorites was when they had the carriage in the middle
no,
of the dark woods and with the it kind of played on Revelations with the dark horses of the
yeah.
apocalypse and everything. It
Yes.
just had that
It's. I
aspect.
was.
Like I was just like, that's
Yes.
gorgeous.
I was going to bring that
Gorgeous.
same scene up. And the horses, when you hear the horses galloping coming, and it's like
Hmm.
loud, the theater was rumbling, dude. I was like,
Mhm.
this is freaking awesome.
I
But
Oh,
don't know
yeah,
why people hated on his mustache so bad. I was like, historically,
yeah,
that's an accurate mustache. Like that's
yeah.
literally accurate. I don't know.
no,
They
I didn't hate on it. I thought it was appropriate, but the only thing that stuck in my brain was that stupid Sonic movie with Jim Carrey. He looked like that. What's that dude's name? Robotnik, Dr. Robotnik.
Robotnik,
Yeah,
yeah,
he had that same big ass mustache. I was like,
yeah,
okay, we got Dr. Robotnik playing Orlok. Nice. But
yeah.
other than that, no, it was very well done. And shout out to Skarsgård. It seems like he's in everything now. I mean,
Oh man, he's killing it,
yes.
man. He's killing it, dude. He's absolutely killing it.
you
You know
talk
what's
about
funny
not.
is I loved him in Hemlock Grove when he first played a
I watched
vampire
that
in that
series.
one.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you ever watched that one, Slap?
No, I haven't seen that.
It's on
It's
Netflix.
actually really good. I think you would
It's on
really like
Netflix.
it.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a vampire slash werewolf slash
right. You
Gypsy.
said
gypsy. Yeah,
Hemlock
yep.
Grove.
Yeah. It's got
Hmm.
the woman that played in the X-Men movies. What was her name? The
Um,
first X-Men movies, the red-haired lady. I forgot her name. Damn
Oh,
it.
she played Rogue.
No,
yes. No.
no, she didn't play Rogue. She was
She was the
the
one.
Dark Phoenix. Who was the Dark Phoenix?
I know you're talking about. Yeah,
But
yeah, I know
She's
you're talking about.
I forgot her name.
she is
Yeah,
batshit crazy in this show. Like she is evil. She
Oh
is
yeah,
vile. She is
Eval.
evil. Like she's vile.
Like,
I love her. I love
yeah.
okay.
her so much.
It only lasted
Um,
3 seasons, or was it two? I watched it.
I
I
think
don't
it was
remember if it was two or
three.
three. It was 2 or 3
I think it was
seasons.
three.
Uh, but it
I
was
might
pretty
check
good.
this out.
I actually was like, I'm gonna go rewatch that. And also, I think with Bill Skarsgård, his performances keep growing as
Hmm.
he goes along. He's such a versatile actor. I have not watched The Crow yet because you cannot touch The Crow. I'm so sorry. I
Yeah.
just haven't watched it for that. I'm going to because I want to see his performance, but I haven't gotten over the fact that they touched that film.
Hmm.
But I loved this Nosferatu film because you didn't see him at all. There was
Hmm.
nothing that shouted, oh, okay, that's Bill Skarsgård underneath the makeup. No, you didn't see this man at all. He
That's right.
transformed himself. He did something just completely different, especially with his hand movements, the gestures, the just the he's just this brooding figure in general because he's always so tall and he's just a tall human. But it was just really cool to watch him do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I looked at it on my phone. It's Famke Jensen. Jensen. Famke Janssen. I've seen her in lots of
Jansen.
things. And Jean Grey. But
Yes.
yeah, but she was the Dark Phoenix later. But anyway, yeah, that the series was pretty good. Was it my favorite series ever? No, but it was all right. It was all right.
What
She played
about,
Skarsgård.
did you guys ever watch Penny Dreadful?
Yeah.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous. If you haven't watched it, please watch it. All of the seasons, every season is beautiful. If you love
Oh no,
classic literature, what?
I'm taking it back because I thought you meant the movie. They had a movie called Penny
No,
Dreadful After Dark Films before that series came out.
no, the
Did you see the
series.
movie?
I
The
had
movie
not.
is freaking really good. It has nothing to do with that series, but it's called Penny Dreadful After Dark
Penny
Films.
Dreadful.
Yeah. But anyway, go ahead with the series talk there. I
That
haven't seen that.
that's actually one of my favorite series of all time. It's Chef's
Oh, wow.
Kiss. So Lily Rose, her performance was very, very, very reminiscent of the main character in Penny Dreadful, and I don't want to give too much away, but she is just that series is just so powerful. It plays on all of the old literature, Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, and it blends even the picture of Dorian Gray. So it has all of some of my favorite characters in classic literature, and it puts them all in this one show, and it puts it in the form of Penny Dreadfuls in the town of like the scary stories that happen, but the way it unfolds, and there's possessions, and there's demons and vampires and guns, and it's so wild. I actually, after I watched Nosferatu, my cousin and I were like, we're gonna rewatch this. I think we're gonna rewatch this. This is what we're gonna do. So shout out to Robert Eggers for bringing back vampire gothic literature. Thank you for bringing it
Absolutely.
back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The man does his homework.
He does do his homework for sure. All right, Slap. Let's talk about. We talked about Robert Eggers a little bit, and I know in our pre-chat the other day we talked about him there too. But outside of Robert, who were some of your other influences to get you in the mindset of being a director? You're a writer, you're a screenplay writer, and you're also
Yeah.
a director. So you wear many hats. So what kind of puts you
Yeah.
in that director mindset?
Man, real quick, I know I mentioned him the other day too. Shout out to Rob Zombie, man. A lot of people
Oh yeah.
like to shit on him and his movies, but I think Rob Zombie does freaking amazing films. As a matter of fact, we got to talking about it the other day, and was it this morning or late last night? I ended up watching Lords of Salem again. I think Rob Zombie makes amazing films. I think he goes into like this horror maniac mode, and he's able to create these images in films that are quite disturbing. So I'm a huge Rob Zombie fan. Not only does his music kick ass, but his films kick ass as well. But when I go into my creative space, I just I have to set the mood.
Hmm.
I like sometimes I might light a candle. I might keep it dark in here. I might keep one light on. Just recently, I started getting into like listening to more music. I never would listen to music when I would write, but I heard you mention that the other day, and I was like, well, that's funny because for Fearless, I was actually listening to music. I like '90s drum and bass and '90s trance, and I like that sound that old. Remember the movie Hackers that came
Oh
out
yeah.
in the '90s?
Mhm.
Yeah, I just love that hard drum and bass sound, man. But yeah, that's something that kind of helps get me into the mood to write. And just based on what I'm writing or what I'm creating, that's kind of like what I kind of set the tone for.
Nice, nice. Yeah, well, yeah, like I told you, when I'm writing a book, I'm always listening to music, and depending on the music I'm listening to is, what comes out of my brain. Now, if I want to get kind of dark, I'll put some Portishead on and listen to them for a little.
Portishead is legendary. Like Massive Attack.
Oh yeah,
Like
oh yeah,
Massive Attack. Oh
Teardrop.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that, man. Like that's great music, dude.
It's really, really good
Yeah,
music.
yeah,
Really, really good music. And Portishead only made 3 albums, and I don't know what
yeah,
happened to him. I don't know what's going on with Portishead, but
yeah. She had an amazing voice.
oh
Her
yeah,
music, oh my goodness.
Beth Gibbons, that's the lead
Yes.
singer. But
I just wanna be a woman.
That's it.
yeah, when she had that cigarette in her mouth at the.
Like,
I think I got the DVD where they did Roseland somewhere, maybe New York or something. But she had that cigarette hanging out of her mouth, singing. I'm like, this chick is the real
yeah,
deal.
yeah. She's a boss with it.
But
Her and Fiona Apple both.
yeah,
Yeah.
Fiona.
Yeah, they don't give Fiona a lot of credit. I mean, they do, but not enough. I think she deserves more, but that's me.
Well, yeah. Well, all right. We're coming up on the point of the podcast where I want you guys to kind of plug what you're working on. Slap, we talked about the Deadtime Stories, and I know you got some stuff going on with Elena and some other folks. Uh, but I want you to share with us. We got the Owl story, so we got that out. So I'm glad we know
Yeah.
how FearOwl Films came together. But kind of give us an idea of what you're working on, what direction you're going, and where people can find you.
Yes, sir. My next film that's coming out March 1st is titled What's Up There. This is for my people that are, we're hearing all this stuff about aliens and UFOs and stuff now. Well, I wrote this last year. It's going to be another AI animated film. This is going to be my last, possibly AI animated film. I'm going to be doing straight animations after this one. But this film right here has a huge cast. Shout out to Mr. Organic. Mr. Organic's a huge content creator. He is the main character in this film. I have a lot of other big names in this film as well, and you guys are not going to want to miss this. This is an amazing project. It's really deep, and it's going to make you kind of be like, "What the hell?" Which is the point of the "What's Up There" title. But anyways, also be on the lookout for Atlanta's most haunted locations. Uh, I'm a
Like
nerd
here.
when yeah, yeah. I'm a total nerd when it comes to haunted locations and just just being scared. I get an adrenaline rush from it. So why not bring a camera crew with me and we try to see if we get anything cool on camera. So I just filmed episode 5. That should be releasing within the next couple of weeks. I'll be releasing a trailer for it this upcoming week. So you guys be on the lookout for that on my social media platform, slap_FearOwl Films. Also, FearOwl Films on Instagram as well, on Twitter. And yeah, man, it's so much coming. We have Fearless coming also. Annora's returning. She's going to be doing some crazy things in this film. We had a screening for it actually yesterday. I got a chance to see Elena, and we get to kind of put our minds together and just create this sense of chaos that we're going to be bringing to camera. We're going to be bringing to a camera or whatnot. Also, I think I said this before, but we're going to be doing a screening for Fearless. So everybody will be able to come to Atlanta. We're going to have a location. We're going to have details coming in the future where you better come out. Those who haven't met Elena, you get a chance to meet her. Those who haven't met me, you can meet me, a lot of the other cast. We're going to screen the film. We're going to have a nice party. It's going to be an 80s theme. So we're going to have some 80s synth, kind of vampire-ish type vibe to it. That's how I like to do my parties, man. I like to make it a party and a screening so we can have a good time. We can have a panel going on. Charles, if you're able to make it, come on out, man. You can get you some interviews out there, man. Have a good time with us. But yeah, a ton coming. I have some other stuff that's in the works also that I just can't talk about. But you guys will definitely be able to keep up with it on my social media platforms.
Nice. Well, I'm gonna put links down below to everything that I can. Definitely Deadtime Stories. I'll put a link to Fear Our Film so people can see you, where to find you on YouTube, and I'll put links to all your social media stuff so they can see that. So you can like and subscribe. Links down below. And Elena, my dear co-host from season 1, tell us where we can find you. Where can your fans keep up with you?
You can keep up with me on Facebook. I am Elena Marie on Facebook. All of my older works will be on there. You can see all of my adventures, all of kind of more of my personal aspect of my life. Instagram is where you can see a lot more of just like art and quick blurbs and funny thoughts for the day. TikTok did officially come back, but if it doesn't anyway, it's at JukeboxBaby78 for TikTok as well as for Instagram. I think I might branch out to a different platform as well. I'm going to look into a few just to kind of see what people are into, kind of where it'll head. I don't understand Reddit, so that's not where I will be. There's too many buttons. I don't know. I'm not a fan. But yeah, so you can follow me on all of the things. I'll be working with Slap for a little bit. For a while, it's our passion project for 2025. He took his style, my style, and we just interweaved them.
All right.
Words of Polly Shore. We interweave some stuff, and I'm pretty excited to see where it goes. And also for this premiere. If we're gonna go 80s vampire, are we doing a costume 80s vampire?
Dude, that's what we're 100% going to do.
Nice. Nice.
It's gonna be an epic time. We're gonna have a DJ, everything, man. So it's gonna be a legit party, man, on top of a screening. So anybody that comes, put on your best outfit, be prepared to have an amazing time.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like fun. Yeah, let me know the date, man. If I can make it, I'll make it. But
100%.
we will
100%.
we will see what we can coordinate for sure. I am Charles Campbell, author. I write small town horror. My latest book is called Signature: A Cut Above. It's about a batshit crazy hairstylist who is a little happy with her scissors. So you may want to check this out. I do want to mention that Elena has worked with me on a couple of book covers, so I definitely want to show these off. She was a great help and a good inspiration for me for Horror 421: The Road to Terror. And that's her beautiful face right there on the cover, if you guys can see it. Not only did she do the amazing covers, she did some internal covers for the stories. So those are
Nice.
all her face and her beautiful husband Dustin right there. He's got a couple of images right there. So you guys can check this out. But it's also available at valleyboypublications.com. And she also had her friend Allie, who was she didn't know and I didn't know she was pregnant at the time, but she was the victim on the cover of Midnight Rider, and that's Allie's face staring off into the
Oh,
abyss
nice.
of death, and that's Dustin holding the knife who sent her to the abyss of death. So great job on these covers, Elena. They were certainly a big hit. So I do appreciate your work on those, and nice crime scene photo on the back of that. That was all Elena's handiwork.
Nice.
Great
Shout,
job.
shout out to Allie. Shout out to Elena.
Shout out to Allie. Yeah, Allie was amazing on that. The way she just kind of looked off. If you guys have seen the movie Martyrs from 2008, the French version, you see that same look in that film. Don't hate me if you watch it. But anyway, I digress. Again, I'm Charles Campbell, small town horror author. You can find all my stuff at valleyboypublications.com, and all my links are right there, so you can follow me on socials from that location. Thank you again, Slap. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me on your platform, sir.
You're very welcome. Thank you. And Elena, as always, you're always welcome to come back on the show anytime you want. If you want to just chat or if you see a guest you like that I'm having, you can come on and co-host an episode or two. The invitation's always there.
You never know, Anora might come on.
Oh, that will be good too. Yeah. All right, guys.
Shout out to Elena. Shout out.
Shout out. All right, guys. Well, you all have a great rest of your week, day, night, whenever you're listening to this, and see you next time on Horror 421 the podcast. Listen and subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.